My first UFC fight was a tough one, but you know, getting the win, that's all that mattered. And now I'm 6-0, and I plan on being undefeated for the rest of the year, and as long as I can be. Yeah, I watched it back a lot. You know, straight afterwards I got hold of it, and I've watched it back probably 100 times. I was happy with a lot of things, and unhappy with others, like always. And I'm happy. I think I got hit 95 times in 3 rounds, so obviously I'm unhappy about that. But I think I hit him 129. So you know, I think the thing that really showed in that fight was my pace. You know, the pace of the fight was very, very high. Like I said, I hit him nearly 130 times, and you know, in 5-round lightweight title fights, people don't hit each other that much. So, you know, in the same breath, I hit him 130 times, didn't knock him out. So you know, there's pros and cons. So I was happy. I tried a few new things, and you know, my wrestling was definitely up there, and that's the reason the fight was like a 3-round war, because the guy couldn't take me down. So you know, I was happy with it, definitely. Definitely no octagon jitters, I could say. I think there might be next time. I don't know why. I might have skipped one, but I was warming up, and obviously going through the Ultimate Fighter, your perception on fighting changes quite a lot. I think that's why they talk about it so much, and I never really understood it until now I've been through it. But the show, you get given 24 hours. You get given an opponent, and you fight him in 24 hours. So there's no messing around. There's no thinking about it, or no game planning. So when you're given an opponent on 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks notice, there's so much more calm now after the experience of the Ultimate Fighter. So I knew Collin, I knew who I was going to be fighting, I knew what I was up against. You know, I had a great corner with me. You know, I had Robbie from the gym, and I've never lost a fight with Robbie in my corner. You know, and I think I've had probably 15 fights with him. So you know, that's made me supremely confident. And I had Chael in my corner as well, who just has like a calming effect on the whole experience in general. And I remember like warming up and making jokes and watching other fights, and all the Ultimate Fighter guys were there. And I remember Chael turning to me and going, "Luke, you do realise you're fighting tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why are you so happy? You know, get nervous." I was like, "I'm alright." And I really, really wasn't nervous. And you know, a lot of people say that nerves are important, but I just think that's a way, gives them an excuse to be nervous. You know, I was excited about it and pumped for the experience, and I think that showed in my walkout. I don't know if you saw the walkout, but you know, I'm coming out and I'm slapping people's hands, and I was really, really excited. I saw one of my coaches, Nigel. I gave him a hug, and like, it was just a great experience. So I was really happy about it. These are all the gloves that I got when I was on the show. So obviously there was loads of people that I met. I've got Chael, who this was my first fight in the house. I think it was when I fought Gilbert. After the fight, I got Chael to sign one glove, and I got John Jones to sign the other glove. So it was like the 2 coaches from the show, which was pretty cool at the time, and it just sort of reminds me about it. And then we had there was different superstars, I would say, that I met like throughout the season. One of them was Frank Mir, who was one of the coaches over on Jones's team, who I got. And then we also had Yushin Okami come over, who I got, which I was really happy with. And I was constantly asking Rambo, who's like the guy who gives you away loads, like gives you stuff like your gear and your gloves. So, "Can I get some UFC gloves?" He was like, "What for?" "I need someone to sign them. Can you get some?" And I think I got more UFC gloves than anyone else on the show. We had Rhonda come in and do a seminar, so I got her to sign some gloves. But she signed both gloves, which was a bit weird. But you know, I might give one away, or I'll keep them both, I don't know, but that's pretty cool. And then the biggest glove I got out of everything, which was this one, which it's got to be worth some money, I don't know, but it's Mike Tyson. Obviously he was there, he saw me fight Dylan Andrews, and he signed this glove for me after the fight, and that was pretty cool. So that's one of the more important ones. But the most important one I got, which is a bit weird I think to most people, is this glove, which is signed by the winner of the Ultimate Fighter, Kelvin Gastelum, and I got him to sign it about halfway through the season. I think it was like, you know, I just lost or whatever, and I said, "Kelvin, you're going to win. Sign this glove for me. I want a signed glove from." He's the only one I actually got from the show. Like out of all the teammates was Kelvin, and he won the show. So, you know, that was pretty cool as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a big. I keep using my room like this at the moment. I'm going to make a big frame of it, like put them all at the bottom, have my jerseys and my shorts and all that stuff, and just remind myself of an important part of my career, and how it went. Yeah, I'm fighting Andrew Craig. He's from Texas, I believe. He's 3-1 in UFC, 9-1 in total. Just coming off a big win against Chris Lieben, split decision.
You know, have you seen the bad boys too? Who's cutting their ears all the time? I'm doing the same thing.
He's got quite an impressive record. He's ranked 22nd in the UFC, which is quite highly ranked, and he looks very good on paper, which is great for me. But when you actually watch his fights, like it translates like he's beat Rafael Natal and knocked him out with a head kick. Sounds brilliant. He beat Collin Hart in Australia, which was a tough thing to do. Sounds brilliant. But when you watch the fights, like the Rafael Natal fight, he was losing the whole fight. Then he knocked him out for a great head kick, which is one of his dangerous weapons. But he's not as good as he sounds. I think Joe Silva realises that as well. And he's a fighter that I respect quite a lot because he's an American who's willing to travel, which you don't get many of them. He's coming next week, and he's fought in Australia, he's fought in Brazil, and he would have fought in England, which are opportunities that the UFC offers, which is one of the great things about fighting in the UFC, that you get to travel the world, and he takes up on those, and I've got a lot of respect for someone who'll do that. It's the first time I fought in England in over a year and a half, pretty much, because the Ultimate Fighter, I fought to get in the house I think it was October 28th, if my memory's right, last year. Or we flew out that day or something like that. So, it'll be a solid year since I fought to get in the Ultimate Fighter, and I hadn't fought for probably 3 months before that. So it's been nearly a year and a half, since I fought in England. I've had 4 fights since then. They've all been on the Ultimate Fighter on US soil. So it's been a while since I fought in England, and it's it's great to represent my country in the UFC in England and introduce myself to a lot of fans that probably don't know who I am, because although I was on the Ultimate Fighter and I'm still early on in the sport, and the hardcore fans that watch the Ultimate Fighter stay up till 3 o'clock in England and watch it on ESPN. It used to be, now it's obviously on BT Sport. Like they'll know me and it'd be cool, but there'll be a lot of guys that watch the UFC that they haven't got a clue who I am. So it's a good day to introduce myself and arrive as a fighter in the UK, and it's good. Obviously I did my last camp with Chael in the States, which was a great experience. This fight was in England. I spent quite a lot of money going over to Chael's and doing some stuff, so I thought this time I just wanted to do it at home. The Tsunami Gym, which obviously houses some of the greatest fighters in England, so I wanted to utilise what I've got. I started a brand new strength and conditioning program with my coach Will Wayland, and that was a very consistent part of this camp. Andrew Craig is quite an athletic fighter. He's quite a strong guy, and that's one of the things I need to improve, or had to improve, and I had to spend a lot of time on that.
So today with Luke, we were doing a squat session, working up to a heavy back squat for singles in a cluster. This is to try and raise Luke's raw strength, try and get him stronger. We then did that with a ton of accessory work, with primarily an eccentric focus. So we're doing movements slowly, doing movements under control. This is to teach Luke to absorb force. So somewhere later on down the line we can help teach him to produce a lot of force as well. But right now we're really laying that foundation of strength, that groundwork that he needs to build. So when it comes to strength and conditioning and MMA, basically the stronger you are, the more robust this makes you. The stronger you are, the more power it can help you produce, and the stronger you are, the quicker you can be eventually. The other thing is injury prevention. Obviously in MMA, these guys are beating each other up day in, day out, so the stronger they are, the more resilient this makes them, so it increases their potential to not get injured, basically. When you've got an athlete that's taller than normal, you have to take into account their ling length and the fact that mechanically it becomes harder to lift when your limbs are longer. So we have to adapt exercises slightly, perhaps change stances, change hand position, do little things to make the movement more comfortable, more achievable for him. There's no point us trying to fit Luke into a form that perhaps doesn't suit his body type, and everything just gets all out of shape and ugly. So we have to change things in order to make it easier and more comfortable. So strength and conditioning MMA has really come to the fore. It's seen as a crucial part of most athletes' programs, but the strength training has always been the same. But what really gets people's attention is the conditioning stuff. So it's more the conditioning side of things. You see people doing stuff with the battle ropes and wearing weighted vests and doing sledgehammer work on a tire and all this sort of stuff. And that stuff's really come along really rapidly with the popularization of strength and conditioning, and partly the popularization of strength and conditioning for everybody is it's been popularized by MMA because it's seen as so quintessential to it. So where perhaps strength and conditioning didn't get a lot of mainstream attention before, thanks to MMA, strength and conditioning is now getting a lot of attention.
So the reason I did my camp in England is because I wanted to build people around me now that are going to be around me for my career for the next 10 years. So I got a strength and conditioning coach, I got a boxing coach, I got all my coaches together, and planned out my camp. And then I added in some extra sparring partners. Big thing about the UK, which we struggle with, we've got great fighters, but we don't have that many great big fighters, heavy fighters from middleweight and up. There's some great middleweights, but they're all over the country. A lot of them are up north, down south, and it's hard to, we've already started experiencing problems. Like I've trained with a few guys, and now Tsunami want to fight their gym, and then, it just gets a lot of politics. So that's one of the biggest problems I've had, which is why I've started training with Jimmy Manuwa. On a Monday night, I went down and sparred with him. He's a big guy, heavy hitter, emulates Andrew Craig very well. With a solid right hand and left hook, which is what Jimmy throws a lot. So I started training with him just for the sparring, and then obviously I brought Jimmy Quinlan over, who's on tough with me, formidably, amazing wrestler, and an amazing jiu-jitsu guy. But that's not why I brought him over. I brought him over because we got on very well on the show. We were pretty much best mates during the show. We were like the guys that, if I had a problem with someone, I talked to Jimmy about it, or if I was bored, we entertained each other. He had a good sense of humour, which sort of uplifted me during the house. And he was not just a good athlete, but his coaching, the level of coaching he has is brilliant. He coaches back in the States. He coaches a wrestling team there, a college wrestling team, and he's a jiu-jitsu coach at Joe Lawson's academy. So, it's very easy to find good fighters. It's very hard to find good fighters who are good coaches, who can spot what you're doing wrong and help you out. So he came in for 4 weeks. Where I think we've been in 3 weeks now, 2.5 weeks, and we've been drilling together every day, just trying to make little changes, nothing big, and build towards the future. So, my next fight, not so much this one, but my next fight, my wrestling and a few things will be a completely new level. So he's been great to have here.
Yeah, for Luke, he came out, and the big thing with Luke was he really wanted to up his wrestling and stuff. So, me being a wrestler and having actually fought in the UFC, that type of thing really helps to have kind of that background. And so I came out and we were just working a lot of the wrestling stuff, and also the little game plans. I'm trying to help kind of coach with him. He's got Robbie and just an extra voice in his corner that can just kind of help out and stuff. So my focus is really just trying to get his wrestling better, because we can only do so much for this fight, but Luke's a guy who plans to have a long career. So we're really trying to do things that'll put him in a good position to succeed down the line as well.
Well, it's always hard to think about what's next, because you get a lot of fighters that talk a lot of bullshit and say, all I think about is this fight. I'm not thinking about anyone else, which is bollocks. But they just say that to themselves to stress how important the day is. Obviously, October 26th is a big day for me. It can change. It chooses which direction my life goes in. But I still have to plan for either direction. So if I lose, I have to plan about what's going to happen. If I win, I have to plan about what's going to happen. Talking about the winning side, if I win, I'm looking at going over to the States, because obviously I get the money from the win, and going to train with Chael for a couple of months, and probably Jimmy in Boston, wrestle with his college, and just try and improve that side of my game, and just learn more. I'm very young still. I'm early in the sport, so a win over Andrew Craig's a big deal to me. Like we talk about rankings, I'm a bit of a stats guy. I'm ranked like 51st, 52nd in the UFC. He's ranked like 22nd, 23rd. So it's a big leap in stats, not in talent, but in stats. So it'll do my career the world of good. And then I want to look to keep moving forward and moving up the ranks to the closest to get to the gold. You know, that's why I'm in the sport. I'm not messing around and trying to pretend I'm a UFC fighter. I'm trying to be a UFC fighter and a UFC champ. That's the idea. So I want to fight. There's a few guys I want to fight in the division, but my ultimate goal at the moment is obviously to be the champion. But I want to fight Francis Carmont, who's ranked in the top 10 now. He's just a guy that I've had my eye on, and I just feel like I match up with him quite well in the future, you know. So following this fight, I just need to keep getting better, and then look towards fighting the next guy that's put in front of me. You know, it's cliche to say I'll fight whoever they give me, but I will fight everyone in the division on a week's notice. I'd love to fight in Australia. I spoke about Andrew Craig travelling. I'd like to do a bit. I'd like to fight in America. I'd like to fight. They're doing a show in Singapore. You know, I want to fight and move around the world. So my goal, really, come away clean from this fight, injury free. I'll be looking to fight December 7th on the Australia card, which is a very quick turnaround. But that's, you know, I'm talking someone pulls out, I get something happen, you know, and then fight again on the UK card in March. So I've got it all planned out in my head. Again, on the losing side, you know, it could be completely different. The UFC is very ruthless. Could get cut, you never know. They never tell you if you. I doubt I would get cut off one loss. I'd be 1-1. I think I'd get one more chance. But if I got cut, you know, I'd go back to the domestic scene in England straight away. You know, the moment I got my letter telling me I'd been cut, if that happens, I'll be fighting for every title in England straight away, one after the other. You know, so that's the other way of looking at it. You know, and these people that talk about, you know, you shouldn't think about losing, it's not a possibility, but that's all mental bullshit. They're just talking it like they, you know, it's showing weakness. If it's not showing weakness, it's you know, it's showing you're a real person, and you can, you know, think about both things. So if I do get cut from the UFC, you know, which could happen, I don't know, I could have the most boring fight in UFC history. I doubt that very much. I think it's going to be the best fight of the night, but they could cut me, and then next week I'll be fighting on one of the shows in England, you know, and trying to carry on making a name for myself. I got asked a question on Twitter, I think it was, saying what would you do if you didn't fight in the UFC? I said I'd be trying to fight in the UFC, you know, and that sort of sums me up. So I believe in myself that the best is going to happen, and I'm going to win. I think I'm going to win convincingly, you know, and then my life can just keep moving forward. Hopefully start doing that, you know, more on the BT side and commentary and all this sort of stuff. But, you know, you never know. So that's why a week and a half away is such an important date. You know, the fight itself, it's just, you know, I've just done a harder 3 5-minute rounds in the gym here than I will on the night. So it's just a different story. One thing, fighting on the UFC, obviously, in Manchester. Obviously, Bisping's out, Machida's in. I think that's great for England. I think that's great for the UFC in England, especially because we would never get a name like Machida. I think Bisping's a bigger name for the UK, but when you look at the global, you know, getting Machida on an England card, headline an England card, would never have happened, apart from that pullout. So everyone's upset that Bisping's not there. I'm upset. I'm friends with Bisping, and I wanted to, you know, see him win and get closer to a title shot. But unfortunately, it hasn't happened, and we've managed to get Machida, which I think is a better fight. I think it's a more entertaining fight. I think it's a bigger name to have in the UK, like worldwide, and I think it brings a lot more credibility to the card's the wrong word, because obviously Bisping's got enough credibility, but it's just more interest, you know, just a lot more interest to the card. It's his debut at middleweight. He's making an impression, and a lot of people don't know, but you know, on October 26th with UFC's 250th show, so it's a big deal. Like, it's a big show. It's like it's a stone mark, whatever the phrase is, a cornerstone for the UFC. They've done 250 shows, and they're doing it in England. You know, so I'm part of that. It's like a part of history. I think it's great. I think me versus Andrew Craig will be the best fight of the night. I know every fighter says that, but I think when you look stylistically, you know, he comes to bang. I come to be excited. I don't take a step backwards and I throw. My last fight, I threw 119 significant strikes in 15 minutes. I've got like the highest average significant strikes per minute in the UFC at middleweight. You know, I've only had one fight, but you know, my pace is very, very high. So I'm going to push the pace of Andrew, and he's going to be trying to knock me out. It's going to be one of those fights. Could go a minute, it could go to a decision, and it will be exciting the whole way through. And I'm a new name in the UFC, but not being on the main card surprises me, since I'm fighting Andrew Craig, who, rankings-wise, if you looked at took out the main event and the co-main event, he's the highest ranked fighter on the card. And he's fighting me, who just come off the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm English. You know, I thought we would have been on the main card, and I think the Alessio Sakara fight could be dropped, but you know, that's just me thinking again. You know, I want to thank a few people quickly. Mainly, just want to thank De Novo Management, which is Shane Baldwin, who's my manager. He's got quite a few good guys in the UFC now, and he's quite new to the game, but he's doing really, really well. He's helped me out a lot. Like financially and whatever, you know, doing his job. He's great at doing his job, but he's also helped me out. We have a lot of phone calls, we talk about things. He makes me read certain books, again, looking at the psychological side of things, and he keeps me very, very focused. Mike Dolce, who's I've been hooked up with for a long time now. Shane and him work together all quite well as well. Obviously, all my other sponsors, you know, I've got Dynamic Fightwear, I've got Excalibur, who are fat burner, and I've got loads of sponsors, don't want to go on about that, but you know, just those main guys, all my sparring partners. And just everyone who's coming to the show and spending hundreds of pounds, you know, to come watch the UFC, it's a big deal. Like, to me, that people, you know, my brother moaned at me about the ticket price. You know, it's expensive, but it will be worth it. And I am making sure it'll be worth it. You know, my fight, before I get into the octagon, I'll be thinking about how we would have spent £200 on a ticket to watch me fight. Trust me, I'll be thinking about it. And that is one of the reasons we spoke about, you know, the advantage of having the English crowd behind me. Like, I'll be thinking, there's probably 20,000 people here and they've all spent £100 here to be here. I need to put on a performance, you know. And that's the difference between fighting on a local show, fighting in the UFC. The hunger that people have to win and the desire that people have to win is tenfold. Andrew Craig will have it and I'll have it, you know, and that's why you get the best fights.